Yeah, do y'all think there's almost like a place for protest?
Have. Hong Lim Park.
Singapore has got it right on this wall. Should climate activists Van Gogh and die? This is your daily catch-up.
Ooh, they're in some hot soup right now.
Anger.
Boom.
Bad news for Van Gogh.
Van Gogh, he died like how long ago, yeah?
Ago. Anyway, so recently climate activists, 2 of them, have thrown like a can of like tomato soup and destroyed his like sunflower painting.
How?
I mean, okay, in the end it's not really destroyed lah, but it looked very destroyed in the video that I saw.
How do you save it though?
Isn't there like bulletproof glass in front of your paintings?
No, a lot of museums.
But
right,
technically, if you
it's
look at
just
this one,
Yeah.
it's like kind of exposed. But turns out there's
No,
like
there's lamination.
there's a glass on top of it lah. So the
Oh,
frame
thank
had a
goodness.
bit of damage, but the painting itself
Yeah.
was not damaged.
I mean,
Thank goodness.
some might even argue that that's not even the real damn painting, right?
Interestingly, you go to the Van Gogh Museum in Holland, right? Starry Night is not even there.
what?
It's in New York, Mama.
Oh yeah. We saw it, right?
Yeah.
Ayo, so cute.
Guys.
There is this museum,
on,
right? That if it's either Africa or Greece. Okay, I'm sorry, but so basically, this whole museum is filled with like missing pieces. So for example, you know last time there's like those, instead of pillars, right, they kind of carve like human bodies to like hold up as pillars, right?
Yep.
So then for example, it's like a row of 4 and then there's like 1 missing. So like where is this, you might ask?
London.
Yeah, it's in the British Museum. So this whole museum, right, is almost like a giant pegro, like F you, right?
Yeah.
You stole our art
Yeah.
to the British Museum.
Right.
That's so sick.
Anyway, so what happened was that in a video that went viral, it showed like these 2 activists, they were kind of like covered up wearing sweaters, but when they take off, then they got the words they're wearing on the shirt, which says "Just Stop Oil." So they're protesting against like oil companies lah, basically. And then what they did was they opened a can of soup, they splash on the sunflower painting, and after that straight away, right, they start like bend down, and one of them actually took it out of her bra. So then they take out something, they start like putting over their hand. Then at first I was thinking, I don't know, like she put like makeup or what, then she like lipstick she wanna put on her face or what. Then after that, so she sticks it already, then she do this.
Huh?
Then she stick her hand to the wall, right? I was like, why are the security not just removing them? Because security had come around that time. Then after that, I later realized that they had glued themselves to the wall. And then eventually they were like thrown out, arrested. And they have eventually pleaded guilty to this and got released on bail and on the condition that they don't paint or adhesive substances on them in a public place anymore.
You know, I think of the one time also, there was exactly Just Stop Oil, right? The guy, he not ziplock, what do you call it? The zip tie his neck to the goalpost at a football match. Then they had to like cut the thing out.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
If I'm not wrong, is this organization also, they're kind of like notorious for these like demonstrations. So then I think he set himself on fire in front of the Supreme Court and he actually died.
Oh my shit.
Like there's a right way to do it and there's a wrong way to do it. Like I think people will go back to like, there were cases in, I can't remember what country it was, whether it was Vietnam or like China or what, where someone actually set themselves on fire because there was an actual humanitarian crisis. Not saying that
The
oil is
monk.
not. Yes, the monk.
Very famous photo.
Yeah. Like obviously this is a problem, right? Like the whole like oil crisis or whether like it's affecting the environment and all that. I think we are all in agreement some level, but there's a right way and wrong way to do it lah. And I think like creating like this kind of like public damage seems very, very
Honestly, I was a
excessive.
bit surprised to feel a bit angry when I saw the video. I mean, my response was like, I get your point. I understand, like it's smart lah. But then, especially gluing to the wall is so smart. Like I really
Yeah.
But why Van Gogh? Like has the man not suffered enough? He suffered until he committed suicide. Like there are so many other like problematic artists like Pablo Picasso that they could have done this too, right? Why Van Gogh?
Why tomato soup?
Well,
Yeah, and
really
if it's
asking the
tomato
real
soup,
question.
then go for Andy Warhol lah.
Maybe that's why, because Andy Warhol talked about everyone getting their 30 seconds of fame and then he created the Campbell soup thing of the pop art, and so then that's why they use tomato soup.
They really need to do some research
Yeah.
before they go and do this.
It feels badly planned.
A little bit. But they got all the attention that they wanted though.
Yeah.
So actually it probably is really well planned.
But does it actually do anything for the cause?
It makes people angry at them, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, it become because they do this, right? The point is lost.
Yeah.
I feel lah.
It's harder to rally people to agree with you when
But
you do
it's
something
true
like
that the advertising for it though, like the raising awareness part, correct. Like they check that box for sure.
Yes.
If say I put you right as the head of these organizations for whatever you want to fend for or fight
Okay.
for, and I give you 24 hours, what is something that you can pull off that will garner the attention of the world?
Okay, important question for everyone who's watching. Aside from please like, share, and subscribe.
Legit.
Let us know. Legit question. Do you want us to do merch? And if you want us to do, what kind of merch should we do?
Yeah.
So should it be like, I don't know, a bottle of ketchup, right? We need to invent one. T-shirt, cap, or cup. That's the most basic
Our
one.
special sauce.
Special sauces.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let us know down below what kind of merch should we do. Back to the video.
24 naked men, right? Streaking on as many public like sporting events as possible. Anything
Can I
that's
guess what is your
televised.
cause?
But that feels common, leh. That feels like it happens a lot.
But 24 though, like there's usually one streaker, but you have 24 random guys, and then they have stuff on their bodies all painted. Like,
And you can organize this within 24 hours. I'm talking about like, realistic one.
I think it will become like a meme. You know what I mean? Can you imagine, right? Like the video of like security guards chasing like 24 men like naked around. And then if they each paint one letter, then by the time they go lie down, only left 5 of them, right? Then like the word is like like you kind of miss the whole point. But raise awareness is kind of funny. Maybe stop the game for like 20 minutes, right? It looks kind of harmless.
Yeah.
but it's televised, so you know that there's gonna be like 6 different camera angles of that guy's butt cheek movie in slow-mo.
And the security all trying to catch them from behind. Then suddenly one more naked man coming down from there, then like
Yeah, you go get parkour artists, so you know they can evade.
That's kind of funny.
the casting for this.
It's the most unglam poses.
There's a fashion show that was like that recently.
Oh.
In I think one of the fashion weeks, like quite interesting. So it's like the fashion show kind of start, right? And then suddenly the front row audience, just this guy got up, right?
Oh yeah,
Then he walked in, then
watched.
after he walked through the back, it's like kind of like a turn, like
Yeah,
a rotating door kind of thing. So he walked in, after he walked out in the designer's outfits. So when they stand up, right, it's like they're in random outfits and they're random members of the audience one. So it could be they're sitting row 3, right? Then they need to, excuse me.
Yeah.
Then people need to stand up to let them through.
Supposedly lah.
Then they'll walk down. But people really look surprised.
No, but
the
they
interesting
damn
thing
zai,
is,
ah.
they casted twins.
Yeah.
So that because the rotating is immediate one, like it's
Yeah.
impossible they could have changed. Unless all their clothes is the Velcro can tear off, maybe.
Right.
Yeah, then straight away they come out.
Yeah.
There was also the other one, the spray
The
on.
white
Yeah.
dress.
Spray on dress.
One of the Hadid
So
sisters,
Hadid,
Bella. I think.
Bella Hadid came out like naked. She just covered her boobs she walk. And she just stand in the middle like posing. And then suddenly a guy came out with spray paint and spray her with this kind of white.
It was like, but it
White,
turned out to be
yeah,
fabric.
white paint-ish looking thing, her whole body. And then suddenly they could like mold it and make it like a dress. And then she just walked down.
It looks like gel-ish one.
Yeah.
Then somebody come down and like cut like make some final adjustments.
Yeah.
And then it was just a spray on dress.
It's
Yeah.
crazy. When she started walking, it really looked like fabric.
Yeah.
It was so sick.
I feel like fashion, like I don't know if it's always been the case, right? But hot couture or something like that, right? It's like at the highest level, right? They are trying to push the boundaries of fashion and also look at what the future of fashion can look like, right?
Hot
In terms
couture.
of hot couture.
I usually just skip the first word.
Yeah. And then
Couture is so much
so they're
easier to
trying to
say.
push boundaries, they're trying to do all this kind of stuff. And it's so like sci-fi. Yeah, when you see this kind of stuff, or like you see like Balenciaga and all that, right? Then they try to do all this sci-fi concept stuff, right? Damn interesting.
Damn cool.
Balenciaga recently announced some new bag. Do you all see?
No.
It's basically right a lace potato chip bag, right? In the form of a bag.
Like
and
the
it's
same
like-
design.
The material is different, I think.
Whatever lah.
Yeah.
So yeah, like, it's an actual bag lah that you can use. It's 1.8K or some shit, right?
Yes. 1.5.
1.5. What? Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
They did this and it's Balenciaga. Then you can find it on like, I think Shopee already had this exact same.
AliExpress had stocked
potato chip
this bag
bags.
for months.
Yeah, like for like $5 or whatever the hell,
I
right?
have at home also.
$2. Right.
It's just a potato chip.
Like you
below.
see at those little push cut shops in Bugis or whatever the hell.
Yeah.
Right? First you go there. So, and then I'm thinking like, as much, right, as when you first see it, your reaction is like, what the right?
Yeah.
But then, right, what is fashion? What is the purpose of fashion? And like what we were talking about earlier, right? A lot of pushing boundaries and helping you to question why we do things a certain way and the ridiculousness of certain things, right? It's very interesting, but it's part of how we evolve and appreciate things. It makes you question life. It makes you question a lot of stuff. Like the irony of it is what's funny. The irony of it is what's so ridiculous and yet it makes sense. So a very good example of this, right, is actually John's favorite, but he's not here. Crocs. What was Crocs for? Why did Crocs become what it is today, and why is every motherfucker wearing Crocs, right? I swear I will never wear it, okay? But
6 months later.
But I get it. No. That was what I told myself when it started to pop off, okay? But I swore to myself, right, it doesn't fucking make sense. The reason why Crocs started to trend, right, was because it was worn ironically.
Yeah.
It got worn ironically and it started to trend. And after it became a trend, then what happened? Too many people started wearing it already until some people started to not know why people were wearing it because of the irony. And they think it looks nice. Then it becomes so twisted already because what
But
the fuck
G-beats are so cute though.
No,
Yeah.
because like what the fuck are we doing?
Yeah.
We don't know what is the origin story of this. Now we actually think it's fashionable, but that wasn't the point in the first place, right?
But you don't need to know the point though.
No, but it's so fucking ugly.
No, but I
Hey,
don't
that's
understand.
subjective.
Like a quick point is just like, so like with Kanye for example, right, he started making the whole homeless like clothing thing. When he first came out, people were like, why the does he look homeless?
Exactly.
He was wearing it ironically, and then now everyone is wearing it that way.
Yeah.
But then suddenly when I look at it, it's now very nice. It's very fashionable. It looks great.
My pants got holes.
Yeah. But actually, like I go, oh, that looks really nice.
Yeah.
Like now the irony doesn't matter already because it's so common to your eye that it's like
My main
beautiful.
takeaway from this is that no one understands Kanye's art.
That's true.
Whatever he say, damn it.
Like the shoes he make, all the boots, all this kind of stuff, right? Like
Yeah.
you know, chunky shoes and wearing rubber.
Yeah.
No, I don't understand why you're so angry.
No, I'm not angry.
No,
I'm not
okay,
angry.
no,
It's just I think a lot of people don't understand.
Yeah,
the
but
root-
why do I have to understand? Like, I just see like some shops like they wear Crocs cause like anti-slip in the wet market,
Yeah,
like the
yeah,
auntie wear. So I thought like, oh cool. And then since like other people wear, then I'm like, okay, it looks quite cool. Then I just wear. But I don't understand people who come at me like, what the fuck you wear with Crocs? Fucking ugly.
What are
What's this?"
those?
Then
Yeah,
I'm just
yeah.
like, chill lah. It's just my shoe. Not like I'm like
Yeah. Like to me it's like like
hitting you with it.
an example that keeps coming to mind was when the first time I heard of Weird Al, right? And then I heard a parody that he did. And to me, it's funny because he made a parody of a song that I like.
Yeah.
But my parents heard it and thought that the song was written by him like that. And they still enjoyed it. They never heard the original, but they still enjoyed it. It was fine that they don't know the intention.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
to them, it's still funny. So like, it's something along those lines. I
No
guess.
way, I don't think so because you can appreciate his piece of work as it is.
Yeah.
It's still funny. It's more comical in terms of value than it is musically, but the music is also there. Like the melodies and all this kind of thing make sense
Sure.
because it's a good piece of music, right?
But you don't need to know the intention or the purpose to enjoy it. If it's enjoyed in a way that the artist didn't intend for, but actually it's still enjoyable, isn't that better?
But that's not the artist's work. This is his work already.
Yeah lah. But I'm saying like if we're going back to like say art or like fashion, right? Like the original, the first person that wore it, like ironically,
Yeah.
and then now it's looking back and like, oh my god, why are you guys all just sheep and following me? that could be one way, or like, oh wow, I started this trend and now people are enjoying it in a way that they never seen before, or like now they're enjoying Crocs because they get to see it in a different dimension almost. That's a great thing as well, you know?
Yeah. No, I totally understand.
Yeah.
I totally understand. Okay. I'm not against it. I just don't like her justification. What you did, I explained to you. You take apple orange, then you say like, okay, cool, this makes sense. So you use an example of utility, but then after that, then you are talking about the stylization of it, and the looks of it. So it's not, it doesn't equate.
No, she's saying that some people find a practical use for it and that's why they wear it. But for her, she just wear it because she thinks it's nice lah. Then why does it need to be so deep?
When there's no bad like connotations with it, like
Yeah.
No, it's the why lor. It's really questioning the why lah.
But I think that's interesting because like surrounding the conversation of art itself, right? Like, can art not just be enjoyed? Like in this case, can a shoe, right? Can Crocs not just be enjoyed? Like, must there be a deeper meaning? Must we always overcomplicate things? But at the same time, there is also like, because art can be so studied and so read into, right? That's what makes it so interesting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
My mind is blown.
Yeah.
It's like, even when it comes to fashion shows, like it's so interesting. Like normally, last time, right, I used to think like, why would people watch Fashion Week? Just a bunch of people walk down, then like being the model really that difficult, man, you know? Like, I just try to walk with a bit more strength, lah, you know? Then people say like her hips can shake, then the other person walk like I don't know, slender man or what. Then not okay. Then like, I used
harder
to
to do
think
that, yeah.
it was about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then it's not. So even with, if I'm not wrong, it's also Balenciaga, their mud show.
Yeah.
That like people are saying that why is the whole show, right, just them walking through like rain and mud.
Yeah, it reminded me of F1's, yeah.
But if you had read the show notes, it makes sense. Like they were talking about it being like a form of expression or whatever lah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know my favorite like performance artist, right? The Abrahamovich. Is her name Abrahamovich? Oh no, I forgot her name, but
Not
anyway, it's
Maria.
M.A. Yeah, Maria.
Is it?
Yes.
Oh.
So previously I shared about her Rhythm Zero where she stood there, then people can just do whatever they want,
Yeah.
right? She has an even more famous one. It's very interesting because she met this other guy, right? There's also super into like performance art one. So they actually have combined together and like done a lot of like couple art shows almost. So
Oh.
it's like the stuff that they do, right? Is for example, if say we are the couple and then he is holding like a bow and arrow, right? And then I'm kind of like leaning on the other end of it. So if he just let go, right, the arrow will just stab her and she will just die.
Yeah.
So they were doing these like art pieces over the year, and then meanwhile, right, in the background, they were planning this like grand masterpiece. Like this was gonna be like what defined them. And it was like they were gonna walk from the two ends of the Great Wall of China and then meet in the middle and get married.
Holy shit. Oh, then one of them died during one of the installations.
No.
Oh.
So what happened
What a story
was
though.
that it was so complicated to be able to, one, get permits to do this, and two, plan out this whole journey. So the permits thing, the Chinese officials did not understand why the heck they want to do this. They were like, why must I let them do this?
Just paint something like why this have to be art?
And then the second part is like there are a lot of parts that are just unwalkable almost because like the stairs have like turned to
Correct.
ruin or it's just been covered by desert, for example. So later on in her life, she had this art piece, right, that was basically, it's called, I think if I'm not wrong, it's called like A Moment with the Artist. So it's basically a big room and then she's sitting in the middle and anybody, like they queue up lah, but anybody can come and sit in front of her, right? And they will just stare at each other for 30 seconds to 1 minute if I'm not wrong. So then suddenly on opening night, right, there was this guy that walked in and sat down in front of her. And then she she break down, like she cried. But then she didn't say a word and she leaned forward to hold his hand. And after they just held hands for a while and then he stood up and left. That was actually this guy that she had been in love with and like did all these shows with, and they had this whirlwind romance almost, right? It was her first time seeing him in 30 years. He surprised her on her opening night for this show. So what happened was that because this whole process of the Great Wall China show took so long, in the 5 years that it took, right, their relationship had like deteriorated and they broke up. But they still decided to go forward with the walk. But at the end of it, instead of getting married, it is a breakup. And then so it was very interesting. Like they went on this walk and then like they never saw each other again until he surprised her on the opening night of this art installation.
30 years later.
30 or 20 or 30 if I'm not wrong.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, some people damn
It's
dedicated.
It was a crazy story. I really love her.
So impactful.
Shit.
But yeah, back to the activism point that we were making. Actually, I feel like if they didn't splash the tomato soup, right?
They just glue themselves there.
That's their round one actually. So I think it's the same pair of people. They glued themselves to the frame of this giant painting. Cannot remember who.
You know what's fucking funny though? I don't know if this is true, but to make glue you need oil, right? Isn't it made of petroleum?
Maybe.
So they couldn't have conducted the whole thing without oil. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe gum. No, wait, gum is from trees. Like, what the fuck am I talking about? Okay, let's just move on from there.
Or oil is used in the machine that needs to manufacture the cans of soup
Yeah.
We're
Or
really
to make
trying to
plastic.
give them
and
meaning.
transport it to the supermarket which they bought it from.
They had to transport it
Have you
somewhere.
heard about how the flat earthers like prove themselves wrong? I mean, it's like almost the same case as this. So they spend a huge sum of money, right? Like I think a few tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands, like investing in this experiment that they believe will prove that the earth is flat. They had a boat and then a laser. Then the boat is kind of supposed to like just float out, right? And then at like intervals, they will mark where the laser is pointing to. Yeah. It eventually happened, right? It was to the extent that the whole boat disappears, yeah, because the earth is not
Round.
flat. So then after that, they have to come up with some excuse to like explain why this experiment went this way. But there has been a question on Reddit that people are asking, right? Like the root of it, right? For example, with the CFCs, they just stopped using it, for
Chlorofluorocarbon.
example, and then it kind of the ozone can like mend itself, right? But in this case, there is nothing much a consumer can do when it comes to oil. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like a consumer, like chicken egg situation. Like the consumers need to demand it, then the suppliers won't do it, right? I think with CFC, it was just so aligned with everyone. And because you didn't have social media, right? You only had so few media channels to say that chlorofluorocarbon is bad, everyone do this thing, that all the companies all just say, okay lah. Look, if consumers are going to demand this, hopefully, then we're going to move on from this. But now with social media, like it's just so difficult because everyone's so disenfranchised and like everyone has their own point of view. Like it's so difficult and like it's so ingrained in our daily lives. Like it's so difficult to suddenly say, okay, I'm going to stop using petroleum vehicles. Because firstly, not everyone owns cars, and if someone bought a car already, it's so expensive to like change to an EV, for example.
Yeah, actually, the question that I want, okay, because I'm thinking about the question that I posed, right? And I'm trying to figure out how to do it without defacing property or doing something that's like illegal. Because this is clearly what they did, right? Because we were talking about the fashion stuff, right? And recently Kanye West also basically destroyed headlines with his whole... He basically wore a shirt.
He destroyed headlines and racism.
Yeah.
And
he
himself.
basically wore a basic plain t-shirt with the printed text saying White Lives Matter.
Oh yeah.
And that just completely took over the fucking internet, right? And all the media channels and publications. But a lot of the time, right, like he's been known for this already. He's been known for doing controversial stuff that gets you in the headlines.
Yep.
And I don't think it's difficult. Like these two girls have done the same thing, right? They're all over the headlines. We're talking about them right now. I think there's a very fine line, and the key difference between being just an asshole that's just making noise is once you have garnered that attention, right? How then do you funnel that into the cause? How do you then balance how crazy the shit you're doing is with the impact that you're actually going to have on whatever that cause is? Yeah, I'm struggling to find that with these individuals.
I feel like the almost arbitrary argument is that on one hand, right, like while there are people that will understand the nuance of what is the statement that you are making, right, but there's also that huge group of people that will take this at the face value and agree with it, right, and then not be doing any deeper research or whatever. So given the reach that Kanye has especially, how many people are just gonna say, hey, if even a black guy says, right, white lives matter, or like all lives matter for that fact, right? Then I feel like the negative impact is much larger because the amount of people who will then go and follow up and like, what does he actually mean, etc. Or like, what is he trying to use this platform for? The lead generation not there, you know?
Yeah, but some people say as long as you move the needle, then that's better than not moving anything at all, right?
But if you move the needle backwards, is that better than not moving the needle at all? I don't think so.
You think it's backwards? Or you think it improves or generates awareness to... Because generating awareness is the one component, and then the actionable is like if you plan a strategy before, right, or a campaign, it's a later step, right?
Yeah.
What do you think his goal is?
I really don't know, because Kanye West works in very mysterious ways, right? Yeah, but I really don't think it's just for the sake of it, lah.
Yeah.
Because
there's a lot of instances where there was a point in time where he was seen as a Trump supporter, right?
Yeah.
But then what people then were starting to say was that you don't realize through all that, right, he's actually the good guy here. He's actually trying to get into Trump's circle so that he can make changes within the craziness of Trump's circle. Maybe that's the case. And so maybe with this, there is some good that he's trying to portray here. It's just that he's a little bit like extreme in doing that. But with this instance, I'm trying to see and I can't see it. And if there really is like, if he's trying to raise awareness to say that, look, maybe he went full crazy, right? He's gonna portray a crazy person so that all people that say White Lives Matter look crazy. Maybe that's the goal, right? Like that's really taking one for the team.
Yeah.
And I think you're gonna get more supporters for White Lives Matter than actually like changing perceptions against them.
Yeah, but it's interesting because like he is able to do it in such a way where it's controversial, but it doesn't get him in trouble.
It got him in a ton of trouble though.
No, like in trouble in a real way, like with the law.
Right.
Like with those girls, they're obviously gonna have this jail time or whatever the hell, right? Like in my head also, if I go and deface the Malayan right now, I'm gonna make headlines, right? Yeah.
Yes.
How?
Very much so.
Like no,
Like knock off the head.
no,
Like spray
Like
paint it lah.
spray paint.
Yeah. Yeah.
What if you made it look nicer though?
Oh shit.
Subjective.
Right.
This is art, right?
Hey.
Back to the art thing, right, that we were starting off with, right? Like, one of the things that we were questioning is that there have been evidence that oil companies or the oil industry is actually behind some of these acts of activism, this guerrilla activism, right?
Oh yeah, there's a theory that they
It's
paid them to do this.
so that it paints a bad light on these climate change people.
Propaganda is so interesting.
It's fucking disgusting.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Oh shit, I can totally believe that.
Right.
But it's working.
Yeah.
Like I believe in climate change, but then now it makes me feel like maybe
This climate.
But then that still goes back one circle to make people hate oil companies though.
But you see, right, if I never brought this up, right, what is the impression that we all had? And that's the majority, like we said, right, the negative impact, right? So unless you are going to deep dive into something, high chance is that most people won't, then you win already, right? That like then you see once it occasionally people like the Greta, whatever, right? Again, puppet. Used, right, by the media, used by all of them to do what?
there's this
It's
theory
all for their own narratives.
like someone had a theory of like why is Greta Thunberg the one doing this, and it's because like people don't ask children to shut up, and so someone probably is feeding Greta with all these sound bites so that she can just
Then
keep
they're
talking.
thrown off because the internet asks her to shut up. But do
There's
you all
so
think
many
that's
bigger
almost
forces
like
in nature.
a right platform to protest? Or do you think like protest is meant to happen like anywhere? So I think like we touched a bit on fashion shows also, right? Somehow fashion shows or like just these shows in general have been used as such a like platform for protest. So a few years back, the Gucci mental health protest, right? Basically all of them are like dressed in white like straight jackets. It's like they were on a travelator. Gucci said that it's meant to show how like through fashion power is exercised over life to eliminate self-expression. So that's why every one of them like dressed in white lah. But then the protest was, it said on her hands, like sorry not her, this person is non-binary. So it said on their hands, mental health is not fashion. Yeah, which is basically what had happened. But yeah, do you all think there's almost like a place for protest?
Have Hong Lim Park.
Singapore has got it right on this wall.
I mean, I think you definitely need a platform that has a audience, a wide enough audience, or if it doesn't, like fashion shows who watch fashion shows, right? Enough journalists there that will cover it, will get to mainstream news. I don't know what you guys think.
Okay, I don't know whether it's just happened to be because we're talking about the subject of art also, right? To me, it's art in itself is something that challenges everything you believe in, right? It forces you to question things, question life, question things bigger than the games we play as human beings, right? And I've always been very curious. Like, to me, there's no need for a platform. It's something that you discover on your own and then you try to question, you push for, and then you share with other people, and then if they agree or not, then then maybe there's something and it changes things. Like all the great artists, or even art historically, right? It has gone through ages. Like, how we have an industrial revolution, we have all this kind of stuff, right? Same with art, right?
Yeah.
So there was a period of time where art was used for probably like documentation or whatever. Then after that, then there was the refinement of how we're going to draw as accurately as possible, as representations and that kind of shit.
Realism.
And then suddenly realism. And then we move into the modern era where all of this art, similar to like formats like music, right? There are certain things that you cannot explain, right? They are otherworldly. They are not attached to things in our reality, and yet you can feel those things through music. And the same thing was being sought after through art. Hence, abstract art. Like it's so freaking cool. And then obviously now we have this new media and all these other platforms, which is the latest version, which is called like what's the latest?
Just contemporary stuff,
Yeah, that's another
currently
name
in
for it.
postmodern contemporary.
Yeah. It's contemporary.
We're running out of new ways of saying new, basically.
And I really, really appreciate, like, to me, I like modern art the most at this point in my life. Like, it makes the most sense to me.
So there is a
Like,
time
to not
and
make
place
sense.
for everything except protest.
No, so what I wanted to say is that, and how I wanted to link it back is that throughout time, right, art has actually been in itself forms of protest, forms of messaging, forms of, challenging the status quo and whatnot. And it's interesting that we see it now. Like honestly, what you're looking at, everything that we've been talking about in itself could be considered art. Yeah. So I thought that
the medium is the message.
Yeah, it's sometimes also, right? Yeah. So I don't think there's a appropriate place or platform for the protest. Yeah.
I think that's fair. I do think that regardless of the platform though, I feel like protest needs to be extreme. Because like everyone's point of view or opinion about certain thing, like whether it's oil or like whatever, right? It's always on a spectrum. It's never good, bad or whatever. It's like, it's bad, but I'm willing to live with it. It's like, it's always in some form of spectrum, right? Activists need to be extreme to then achieve their goal of somewhere being in the middle. Because if you're just
like shoot for the moon, but if you miss, then you fall among the stars.
Yeah, I feel that way because like I think if you're too tame, firstly you won't get the attention you want, and also you're not going to garner the support that you need from anything. So I think it's perfectly fine for a protester to know that people now see me in a bad light. But now hopefully I get to move the needle so that you who maybe were okay with oil move slightly closer to me now. Because something sparks in you that okay, actually maybe there's a lesson here to be learned. But you need to be extreme so that the middle ground is closer to where you want to be.
When was the last successful protest? When was there something that happened, right? That was so major, right? That it really moved the needle to the point that we cannot do, like, you know what I mean? Like we had to change things on a level that we previously, like what you say, right? Like oil industry, how can a consumer make change? These are things that are completely out of control. We are powerless against these things, right?
I think two of the most recent ones that like really stirred up a conversation. One is George Floyd. Second is the Hong Kong extradition law.
Right.
So the Hong Kong extradition law changed nothing, and now they have the law and like.
Right. So with like the George Floyd incident, right? Like how have things changed actually like on the ground? Because I heard that there were like unidentifiable police going around events shooting people. Like crazy shit happened after that, right? Yeah. So Was it really for
But
the
it has
better?
brought such a big spotlight onto police brutality, and then like the calling out of such things and asking for like reforms within the system. And if I'm not wrong, the officers that are involved in this, right, were actually like charged or fired like for the first time.
Okay.
Like it's very rare for such a thing to happen to police officers, especially in America.
Yep.
Yeah, so then that having happened sets a precedent in future like cases.
Yep.
I think like there's also been more cases of them having to wear on-body cameras and things like that.
Which don't work when something happens, like, or like back then, right? If like you are involved in a case, like a f***ed up case also, where clearly you murdered somebody, they will maybe put the police officers on like paid leave for like years, and then at the end of the day, they don't even get sentenced to anything kind.
Yeah. It has almost enabled this, right, to be a campaign point for politicians. Which I think like when it comes to such things, right, change is hard to see immediately. Maybe similar to what we've spoken to Chan Chun Sing about, right? This kind of things,
Minister.
right? The change that, Minister Chan, sorry. So the kind of change or the kind of impact that it has, right, is only to be seen in like 5-10 years to come.
Yeah.
So now people are using like say
Defund the police.
yeah, like
Yep.
defund the police, but then I mean it has been misconstrued lah.
Yep.
But at the essence of it, right, now this defund the police thing has become a movement. It has way more traction, right? People are using it as like a vote for me and I will do this kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, so then like clearly you see the needle moving.
Yeah, things happen in election cycles, essentially. But at least that's a form of change because this is the natural check and balance of a democracy, right? Like
Yeah.
politicians bend to the will of the people at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And so if you know that majority of society wants that, then I guess that's democracy working. It's just a bit slow, lor. Oh, it's a bit sad.
Yeah.
But I think these are like protests, right? This is like very clear a group of people coming out with signboards and like protesting. But I can't remember a recent like stunt that actually worked.
Oh.
3778 is not a protest, man.
It was a rally lah. Like as in like Pink Dot was a rally.
Organized protest lah. Really.
That caused them
Yeah.
to change the thing, ma.
Yeah.
Technically, I would say that the main propellant for it was India's law change lah. But then Pink Dot being consistently there throughout the years, right, normalizes it.
Yep, yep,
Which
yep.
changes sentiments. Yeah, so I think in that way it has played a huge part lah.
It probably helped with a lot of people who were on the fence about things to then see that, oh, okay, I guess it's actually normal.
Yeah, so I think there are these almost like spike events, right, that happen that make people talk about this. But then I think normalizing something, right, is kind of like done in the background and then like
Yeah, and to be fair,
generous.
Yeah, correct. Because to be fair, multiple things have to be at play in order for something to happen. So you cannot just say like, oh, it has to be only because of the protest that this happened, right?
I think something like a bit interesting that I've been thinking about, right, was that so recently I watched this show called Only Murders in the Building. It's like a Disney Plus show. Then they
like-
come out with a season 2. And then in season 2, right, they suddenly make Selena Gomez gay. Yeah. Then I damn confused. Like, I mean like, wow,
About
she
your own
has shown
thing.
no indication of it. And then like,
Must show indication, then can...
People come
no,
with
as
all
in-
shapes
no,
and
so
forms.
As a
it felt
character
Like, it
lah.
felt like...
You mean there's a way to
Her
look
character.
gay?
No lah, as in like she has not indicated that she is attracted to girls in any way. What? But then it felt like they kind of shoehorned it in, right? Because of like the conversation or like because they feel like in order to portray themselves as like we are a show for like
Inclusive.
Yeah.
inclusivity, all this, then like I'm wondering like
Is it just
but
a card
when-
being played and
yeah,
used,
exactly.
right? Yeah.
So
yeah.
but then when I felt that, right, then I'm like, oh man, like, am I wrong to feel this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then I'm thinking like a lot of people have always talked about representation in media. It's the reason why Crazy Rich Asians is so popular. What?
Yeah.
Then I'm thinking like, do I really need this representation? Like when I see Crazy Rich Asian, like not seeing an Asian person on TV like growing up, does that really affect me so much? Or like not seeing LGBT being portrayed, right? Does it really affect me so much, right? Like I think that's been something that I've been questioning because we talk about normalizing things.
Yeah.
I think this is important. Representation is important for that.
Right.
Yeah, but then like a lot of times, even now we are seeing it used as a marketing tool lah.
It's like for some reason it's being over politicized for no
Yeah.
reason on pop media. I felt the same way when it came to like watching Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, or like even Game of Thrones, where suddenly in medieval times where you like maybe in that western part of the world in medieval times you often associate with white people, and then now it feels like they're shoehorning a lot of different races. I mean, again, it's a fictional world, it doesn't have to make sense, right? But suddenly seeing a random Asian person in Game of Thrones where in that world it technically is supposed to replicate like England and like the north of England.
Westeros.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right?
it was a very random scene. It's like she was just at the side.
Yeah.
Like she was a maid, so she just stand there like that. Like when the
When
whole
they give her all the screen
crew
time.
was white.
Yeah,
it was
yeah,
just
yeah.
a bit like, eh?
Wait, this is Game of Thrones or
Oh no, House of Dragon. Yeah, House of the
like
Dragon.
Game of Thrones lah, yeah lah.
Where it was just like she saw, it's like she stood out like a sore thumb.
Yeah.
And to me, it didn't do anything
It was
for
like,
representation. Yeah.
you just stand there. You just
yeah.
there was no lines.
Like, how do you not see color if you you know?
Yeah,
you don't
exactly.
see-
Actually, there's a very famous quote by, I cannot remember who said it. I think it might be Morgan Freeman, that said like the way forward, right, for like getting rid of racism is to not have Black History Month.
Yeah.
I think it was him who said that.
Why?
Because having it separates us. It's like we need a spotlight for like this month we're gonna celebrate these people because they are different from us.
You accentuate the
Oh,
difference.
okay. The celebration lah, but not the education of the history lah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay,
As in, this should be a normal, a day-to-day thing and not like a once a month every year. Then suddenly we like.
It also gives the people an excuse for 11 months of the other year, like the whole year to not care about Black people.
And yeah, so thank you for watching this episode. If you enjoyed it, like, share, and subscribe to support us so that we can make more videos like this. See you in the next one.
Yeah.
Is-
Was that caught on camera?
Now.
Shit.
What happened?
Nobody saw anything? Okay, then
I
never mind.
saw.